Very early in my career, it clicked for me saying, I want to drive best practices. And who better to drive best practices than a CIO? To learn, to be inquisitive, to say, I want to understand, as opposed to saying, this is my way. Those are critical aspects that help anyone mature. And for me, that inquisitiveness has always been a part of me. It's not that your jobs are going to go away. You need retooling. You need to up-level your skills. You need to embrace that change.
Good morning. Welcome to Atomic Conversations. My name is Lenin Gali. I am the Chief Business Officer here at Atomic Work. Today we have our chief guest, Swati Ranganathan, VP CIO at Uniphore. Swati, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. And can you please talk about how you have come towards becoming a VP CIO and how was life journey that has taken to you, and help, put together what is it that made you want to be a CIO?
In my first role, I was a software trainer and consultant for a company called Parametric Technologies. It made 3D CAD software. You could see how people were designing stuff. It could be for furniture, it could be for cars, it could be for Boeing airplanes. And what I saw in that process was it wasn't just about designing a product, but it was thinking end to end, all the way through. Product inception to retirement, including manufacturing, sourcing, supply chain, support, reliability, swap out, and so on. And very early in my career, it clicked for me saying, I want to drive best practices. And who better to drive best practices than a CIO, right? So everything I've done since that job has been to achieve that mission, to go solve how do we make things better? How do we provide the best service possible? When the Japanese came up with design for excellence, it was a brilliant concept. You're just not designing something, you design for reuse, design for manufacturing, design for support, all the way through.
Yeah.
And along the way, I've built up on a few things, which is to drive customer satisfaction and so on, where you start delivering a better outcome, right?
Yeah.
So that's my journey in a nutshell.
That's interesting. Obviously, you've been a career IT professional. Obviously, you came through the ranks, you were an engineer, you started early 2000s. And did you know that you want to eventually, grow to become a leader and leading an IT organization?
The interesting part is I've always straddled multiple organizations. So early in my career, I was reporting into the CTO office, morphed into the operations role. For a while, I was leading the corporate quality function under the head of quality at a semiconductor company. But I realized my core forte is bringing that business and systems together to drive better outcomes. And what better spot to be in as the IT leader?
Yeah.
And since then, reporting to CFOs as well as chief product officers has kind of blended that same mix. But from early on, I love leading. So leading was going to be the natural path for sure.
Yeah. And so when you were working through that whole process, when did you realize that you could, obviously when you're an engineer, you're thinking about building things. And there's always a career path that comes in where you need to fork towards management versus individual contributor. And obviously you've kind of made that leap towards something. And what happened? How did that happen?
Leading versus managing, it's not that different at the end of the day. And for me, and what I reinforce for my teams, even on a day-to-day basis, is you don't need a manager title to be a leader.
Yeah.
You form an opinion. You figure out what the right thing is.
Yeah.
You become vocal about it.
Yeah.
You express that point of view. You have a healthy dialogue.
Yeah.
That's what a leader does.
Yeah.
Point, right? As in the lead as a verb itself.
Yeah.
Along the way, it's easier if you're empowered so that you can drive better actions. And that's where the manager aspect comes in.
Yeah.
Right? For me, this combination, I love that.
That's good. Because usually when I was leading a team, somebody came to me and I said like, okay, I don't want to be a manager. And I asked them, why? Because I was looking for trying to promote somebody and see who actually in the team that could actually manage. So my criteria for promoting somebody was, do they command respect? Do they have the others who actually see them as somebody they would like to talk to and be with, and they're helping others? So I think it's more important that way. And then so I've seen people coming and asking like, I would love to become a manager, but then you look around, who really works with them is like an individual always trying to take limelight away from the others rather than shining on the others. But the leadership quality typically,
I hear you, right? People want a title, be it a manager, a director, or a VP or beyond. There's progression to it, right? I learned this a while back and I use that constantly, which is there's stages. If I use the Boy Scout analogy, you join, you're taught how to tie two knots. Start with the reef knot and then build up. As you progress through the levels, you learn how to create more knots. Then you realize, what knot should I use for what situation? If you're tying a boat versus trying to, say, put two pieces of wood together. And then the ultimate is, can you figure out how to make a rope that can then yield a good, strong knot at the end of the day? That's the progression. There's different levels, different skills that you have to have in order to achieve a certain role.
I like the way you I think most of our conversations has been, you always use these philosophical examples of how one needs to really relate to. And it's fascinating because, I see everybody has a different style in explaining certain things. And then I observe that very keenly to figure out how people relate to certain things. And then I've noticed this, since we've met, and then every time we talk, you have this very gifted way of narrating certain things to make it more practical around how you leverage this, and I think that's really great. So, given being through the ranks, and you came in, you became CIO at Bill.com, and then eventually came to Uniphore. What's it that when you made the move from being a middle management role to the executive, mid-executive level, and reporting into the CFO and really leading the IT organization, when you first took over as a CIO, what went through your mind? Like, what was it like?
So I think for any leader in particular, right, the pieces that I value are ownership, accountability, driving results, getting shit done. That's what you have to exhibit, because that's what leaders such as a CEO or a CFO or a chief technology officer would want in the people they're putting into that spot. It was also having a realization saying, I'm not going to know everything possible. And there's going to be areas where I don't know, and I need to be okay with it. I need to learn, but more importantly, I need to trust and hire or delegate to someone who knows the most. That was the fundamental piece that I had to make as a shift for myself. And it's been a journey onwards, right? Every year, every company, there's something new that pops up. How do you embrace that? How do you realize the value? How do you put that in the context of what matters to the business? That's what's important.
No, I think that the shift to what happens when you're an individual contributor and as a technology person who's trying to build and do things, you need to be an expert. You need to be really good at what you do. And the focus is entirely on you, how you're contributing to the end game that you're a part of. But when you become a leader of a team of individual contributors that are actually doing the work, and then you're trying to bring all of that together to present as a cumulative impact in an organization, the shift of becoming, look, I am not the expert. I have to now work with a group of experts, because your shift goes from me being the person who knows it all or need to know a lot in order to do my job to I don't need to know everything in order to become a person. I just need to know, why are we doing this? And also why that person is doing what they're doing, and then kind of guiding them that they have to work as a team, and the transition happens, right?
Absolutely.
And I think what really I've learned through our being a CIO CISO the same way is, when that transition happened to me, I was always trying to help. One of the things was, anytime somebody says, hey, I have this issue and then I need something, and I used to raise my hand. So, but there is a place where you don't want to raise your hand. Okay, that happened to me personally. And when I raised a hand, and then I was called, and basically said, like, if you always take attention from everybody else, the others will feel insecure, because they feel like somehow you're grabbing the attention of whatever that it is. You don't have to. If you need something, you don't have to, when I say raise the hand, like, I literally didn't raise a hand. It's a meeting, and then, I said, I can, that's the way it is, right? So the enthusiasm sometimes get into, and there's a leadership thing that you learn when you become a leader of leading teams versus, being an individual contributor, what you do's and don'ts, and there's some norms, and how you behave around executives versus how you behave around your teams, managing down versus managing up. And there's so many things that you need to learn. Were there any things that you went through that are, things that you felt like, really helped you, like mature as a leader?
Definitely, right? And that maturing as a leader is an ongoing journey.
Yeah.
There's different facets that are required, because as companies grow and mature, their needs also change. How do you adjust on that? So to start with, by nature, I've been innovative.
Yeah.
I've driven for results, driving it through collaboration. Early in my career, it wasn't like I had a huge team reporting to me, right?
Yeah.
It was working as a program manager.
Yeah.
Understanding that people have their priorities in addition to what you want to get done through them.
Exactly. As a program manager, you don't have any reports to you, but you're actually
you're accountable at the end.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
At LAM, I got a few different projects, which, if you, in hindsight, you have to wonder, why would Swati get assigned that?
Yeah.
But the leaders saw something in me and trusted, saying, hey, this guy could possibly get it done with some coaching, right? Solving a problem to say, what is the right quality system?
Mm-hmm.
It's not something I can say know inside out.
Yeah.
And there were folks who had been there 10, 15 years who knew it inside out.
Yeah.
To learn to be inquisitive, to say, I want to understand, as opposed to saying, this is my way.
Yeah.
Right? Those are critical aspects that help anyone mature.
Yeah.
And for me, that inquisitiveness has always been a part of me. I've been in close to, think about 7 different industries. It's almost like every company I go to is in a different industry. You have to understand, what did they do well?
Mm-hmm.
What does the customer need out of this company?
Yeah.
What problem are we solving? How do you delight that customer?
That's great. I think you're touching in the area, like the evolution of you thinking, building something within the confinements of what you are as an engineer or as a developer or a particular space, to going into the program management. You're actually seeing a lot bigger picture, and then also looking into who this is helping, why we need to do this, and how we need to get it done. And so kind of bridging the, so the steps in IT to business transformation, in order to become a CIO, you need to understand the business part, right? I mean, obviously. But then most likely, the people that transition into being builders to understanding business area, that is basically where the program managers, PMO, folks that are coming into that middle management layer.
And beyond that, you almost have to think of like a product manager.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to think of it as a CTO would, because ultimately what you build needs to be designed for excellence all the way through.
Yeah.
You have to think of the lens of the head of customer success because you're running a service organization.
Yeah.
You have to think like an FP&A person because ultimately you're going to be sucking out a lot of money that's going to be part of the G&A budget.
Yeah, that's
right.
true.
Those are areas to go learn and say, what can I do today to think like a chief product officer,
Yeah.
a CTO,
Yeah.
a head of FP&A,
Yeah.
a head of customer success, and then bring bits and pieces together and hone your script at the end.
Okay, so now that you're a CIO at Uniphore, and Uniphore is a AI company, and then how do you see AI is impacting in your role for IT?
There's so many use cases or potential use cases for AI, right? For me, AI is something that's going to be across the board pretty soon, and it's going to be all pervasive. Just like in early 2000s when people were put on the resume saying, I know Excel or Word, AI is going to be one of those. And pretty soon you'll even stop saying, I use AI, because it's going to be used across the board. For me, AI within IT has so many realms to it. IT deals with a lot of information. From that information, we need to be able to glean out certain key insights. We need to work on those insights. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if it's logs, if it's intrusions, if it's threats, if it's user behavior, if it's system failures, or even a generic ticketing system. You have to think through in these buckets. At least that's how I view it. Mm-hmm. And then when you have your actions, you need to now drive automation. Yeah. You need to drive learning. You need to constantly improve. So we've started with a data layer, trying to focus on critical aspects of information. Doesn't matter if it's assets, tickets, categories, as a simple start. Yeah. Let's get that right. Figure out the insights. Do a crawl, walk, run in terms of learning that automation, leveraging AI. And that's a journey that we've started. We've seen good success, and we intend to build on it. Can you call this agentic at the end of the day? That's the goal. Yeah. And that's the automation and the focus that we're going to go work towards.
So the way, now that you've said, is it agentic AI? And obviously there is an agentic AI definition. But what I wanted to really talk about it is the way agentic AI is coming along in the organizations from our experience is the way I see it is like, for example, for every aspect of expertise in the company, so there's a level 1, level 2, level 3, and every time a level goes up, there is a special expertise that you need to have in order to solve a problem. And the complexity increases, and then so that you need to be an SME, subject matter expert in that area. And the AI agents are also approaching the same way. So in a way, are we basically want to do things that each level of a human capabilities. And at some point, you want to augment some of those capabilities. Because, in level 1, what you do versus a level 4, what you do is quite different.
It is different.
And because the easier tasks, repeatable, mundane things are done, usually at the level 1, and majority of the work you want to get done faster. Mm-hmm. Because if you wait, because the frequency of these things happening is quite often. That's why we call it level 1, because you want to just clear those out very quickly, and then you raise it to the level. So in AI, also in agents, when the agents are coming in, they're also coming in to address the easier tasks first, and then the faster. And then in order to really build that knowledge like the experts have, there is going to be time it takes to get to that level. Is that how you're seeing as well?
Absolutely, right? And for me, there's a few levels or a few ways to go think of it. People see success in that early entry-level task or the level 1 task because most of the time it's well documented. It's something that's going to be universal.
Yeah.
An example could be, how do I join a Wi-Fi? How do I print? Where's my printer? Those tend to be well documented. Everyone knows it. You can get that answer.
Mhm.
Now, if you say, where's my print server, or what's the details? Now, has that level 2 or level 3 actually documented this?
Mhm.
If it's documented, you can have an LLM hit an FAQ, pull that result up. And when you get to some higher level tasks, because it doesn't occur as frequently, some may be reluctant to take the time to go document everything that's needed. But if they do, then you could make an agentic or a repeatable action out of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
High level tasks saying, hey, I'm going to look at a threat
Mhm.
or a possible intrusion. What all data points do I need to connect?
Yeah.
What all systems do I need to go across and look at and swivel chair and analyze? Those, you could create a script at the end of the day,
Yeah.
but it needs some level of understanding.
Yeah.
And that's where you have to take the effort. You have to go do it. Yes, is that going to take a little longer? Absolutely. But you also have to keep an open mind saying not everything is a build.
Yeah.
You embrace solutions that exist out there. And then you have the problem going, oh, we have an XDR solution, which comes with AI.
Mhm.
Then we have our Microsoft solution, which also has AI.
Mhm.
Now, how do you get these AIs to talk together?
There you go. I think we're touching the holy grail of actually what is going to happen. So the way the SaaS evolution, as we know, SaaS applications came in, before it was client server, the only way you can do it is deploy a server and you talk to it and static. It's just different. But then became a cloud application, everything SaaS. That means you need to basically connect and browser-based and everything. And now you have a sprawl of applications that are talking to each other. Now, every one of those applications eventually will have their own AI agents. Somehow they're basically wanting you to use their agents so that they then, give you the experience that you're looking for. Unfortunately, you cannot have 100 of them. And that means if an end user needs to know exactly which agent to talk to, it'll become very complicated. At some point, basically like IT has to manage this, just like they're managing IT, the SaaS applications and every other enterprise application. So now you have to also manage all the agents and their availability, their serviceability and experience. And do you see that future, where you have these AI agents trying to run around the entire enterprise and
absolutely,
don't know?
Right? So if you think back to when I started my career, IT would have owned pretty much every system.
Mhm.
But that's when IT was seen as a black box or a black hole, depending on which company you went to, where maybe nothing came out or you didn't know where your request went. With the proliferation of SaaS tools, now it's almost like it's a commodity.
Yeah.
Anyone can go spin up something with a credit card. Now they have tools that are available, data that's available. How do you control that?
Yeah.
Is that something that needs to be controlled? RevOps likes to own RevOps tools.
Yes.
Finance likes to own their tools. HR likes to own their tools. How do you bring enterprise architecture at the end of the day?
Mm-hmm.
You need a common construct or a platform for what I'm going to call is master data.
Yeah.
Employee, customer, vendor, product if applicable. Now that you have that data layer, you get your transactional information. Then do you use AI on that layer?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you rely on the best of breed and get the answers when you need to? In some cases, it also comes down to what I'm going to call as a customer journey.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter if it's the end customer or whether it's your internal customer.
Yeah.
You have to think through that to see where's your bang for the buck. You have to prioritize because IT can't do everything for everybody all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a journey. But do I see mini bots running all the way around? Definitely possible.
Yeah,
right?
It's happening now.
It's
right?
happening.
I mean, you can see every enterprise software company out there realize that they have to introduce AI features, but then how are they going to bring that to end user in an environment where your application is already have an interface? Now you're bringing an AI experience to it. Obviously, that experience needs to be interacted by the end user, and everybody has to get to either Slack or Teams or somewhere where they have to create themselves as a foothold.
There you go. And I think one of the things that you just raised, right, is Slack or Teams.
Mm-hmm.
And there are places where you have both.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously this is
this is going to be a conversation that's going to be occurring again and again, which is it one tool for everything, or is it many tools for many things? While the business needs to have that flexibility to achieve what they need to, IT needs to go alongside the business and figure out what that right strategy is. And ultimately, the reason why I mentioned FP&A earlier is you need to be mindful of costs.
Absolutely. I think one of the core important, now this is where the role of CIO becomes even more amplified and important in an organization, because every time there is a technological evolution happening, there was a time where CIO role is irrelevant. Everybody ended up buying everything across the organization. They deployed all of that stuff. All of a sudden, CFOs like pulling their hair. I'm like, why are we spending so much money? And we need to cut down. Who's going to be responsible? Like, we don't have an IT guy who knows anything at all because everybody's deployed everything. So how do you control that? There's no discipline. There's nothing. And eventually CFOs realized, look, I need somebody to own it. And that has to be the CIO, because that's the way it was originally.
Right.
And now we need to bring it back. And that's how the transition happened. Now CIO owns everything. It's getting even more.
I hear you, right? Our earlier conversation before the podcast recording was around, is it a CIO or is it a business technology lead? It doesn't matter, but it's one person.
Yeah.
If you think of when and how the CIO role came about, Y2K, everyone needed an ERP upgrade. So you needed one standardized leader to drive and make such a change happen because it was monumental.
Yeah.
And as you rightfully said, every technology breakthrough that happens becomes a similar inflection point.
Yeah.
In between, you get to a decentralized mode. Then you realize you need a central strategy. How best do you achieve that central strategy? You can have like a program manager approach, but then who's really accountable at the end of the day?
Yeah.
And who's going to be fiduciarily responsible?
Yeah.
How do you make that happen? So it's one where you have to adapt to change, and change is the only thing that's constant.
Yeah. And you're also playing security as responsibility. Like right now, there's a lot of, importance around security being, not only the end user security, but, the customer elements, customer facing application security, the enterprise security in terms of overall buildings, physical security, access, facilities, you name it. I mean, all of those things where technology for business, employee experience, and employee-related ecosystem is now centralized under CIO across the board. And CIO being the biggest buyer of enterprise applications, because whether it is Salesforce, any ERP or CRM, any of these applications, you need to basically have some ownership. Eventually, all the collaboration tools will end up in a CIO role because it's used across the organization. Right. So I think where I'm going with it is, today service management in general, the way that is offered in to the employees in the organization is central as a foundation to IT, right? The way service management was kind of introduced into the ecosystem today is IT defines what it is, and then employees really need something. They'll come to a particular definition of, okay, is this a portal, or here's how your access point is. You go there and then you ask what you want and you put all of the information. Somehow somebody gets it magically, a routing will happen. And then they're getting this traditional service management and ITIL and the process and everything. So it's very thought-provoking. In those days, that used to be a big deal because, you're centralizing everything because otherwise it's chaotic. And so now we have these agents running around serving, in an AI situation. How do you see the transformation in that space?
From a service management perspective, see, you need to think of that customer journey.
Yeah.
If you're head of customer success, one of the typical problems you have to solve is, how do I ensure I have omni-channel support? Email, portal, text,
mobile,
whatever.
Yeah.
ultimately you need to be able to feed any ticket that comes in any way, shape, or form, doesn't matter what the source is, into that central hub.
Yeah.
Why a central hub? Because that's where you can achieve maximum learning, as well as execution-wise, you have just one spot where you show everything that one person has an issue with.
Yeah.
If you orient towards
and
that.
then one more thing is because you need it to be coming to a place, but then you know that one ticket could lead to multiple tickets.
Absolutely.
And that means it needs to be distributed across multiple teams, multiple people. And so that requires somehow that distribution activity has to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the last few spots, a simple employee experience question could end up being a ticket for IT.
Yeah.
It could be a ticket for facilities. It could be a ticket for the, say, HR team as special requirements are in place and so on. How do you now spin that? Is it going to 3 help desks, or is it one ticket then spun up with subtasks? It comes down to the methodology.
Yeah.
It comes down to what technology do you have? Do you have ticketing queues for those different groups? But ultimately, what's important is that employee feels that they've been heard.
Exactly.
That their needs have been met.
Yeah.
You need to give that full service.
Yeah. I mean, the expectation today, as AI is coming, everybody's expectations are things going to get faster, better? What is AI going to do for me, as a department leader or a business leader, and then the executives are thinking how AI can help my customers and how it can help my employees. Obviously, there is a lot of chatter going on, like, who's doing what most innovative things in the organization? How are you really leveraging AI and then whatnot? All of these things are happening. If you heard, like, from your perspective, what's the most pressing thing that the industry right now is really solving from your perspective, from your lens? Like, how do you see from hearing from other CIOs or the people you talk to or, people that you're working with in general, which ones really are bubbling up? Like, where is the expectation level today?
So I think there's a few levels to go skin this.
Yeah.
First and foremost is a CEO or a CFO. For them, the key is customer growth. For the CFO, it's also productivity, so that way they can control some costs as well. Right? So that's 2 lenses. And it's about one, optimizing that customer journey on one side. And on the flip side, you're also trying to balance your bottom line. But one uniform thing that I see as common throughout is that employee productivity. How do you make them as effective as possible?
Yeah.
I think that's a good problem to go start with.
Yeah.
And if you can solve that for the different groups, additional use cases would come up.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a growth-related activity, which is customer-facing, where you want to give better experience and also looking at implementing AI to optimize some of the things that are complex today to make it more easy for their customers, and then so that then that experience could drive their product growth and make more money or reduce the cost, whatever is happening there. On the other side, it's the business users, in this case, the employees of an organization that needs to have the same capabilities to go faster and more optimized for time, and then efficiency around how they can get things done, in order to produce more for less. And so this is a journey that has been happening, and everybody thought with technology being introduced, obviously you hire people because you have a business growth and you need people in order to scale. And because you're scaling, you need to manage the business needs. And then to manage those business needs and the people needs, you bring technology to connect and then basically do things. And because you have people and technology, you introduce a process because you have to have a process to basically communicate with each other, everything.
Right.
And this adds up complexity. And that's basically what we have today, a very complex ecosystem of departments, people, processes, technology. But AI is a transformational thing. And how do you see with how we evolved into where we are, and then what do you see the AI is going to do with this ecosystem that we have today? I'm not talking about what is happening just right now. I'm just thinking, based on your understanding, how do you see next 5 years to 10 years? Like, is this ecosystem going to look the same?
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. And one of the things that I'm hopeful of is, do you really need 5 different apps to go run your business? Do you need 5 sets of UI? Or at some point in the near future, would it be just one AI interface that you deal with?
Yeah.
And it figures out what you're trying to go do and does it in those 5 systems, because AI is not going to replace those technologies. You still need tools and business processes, but your command and control is from one interface.
Yeah. Ultimately, there has to be some sort of a, order to the chaos.
Right.
Obviously.
And this was what we were joking about earlier, saying, is it that one Uber app?
Yeah.
How you get there, that's going to be crucial.
Yeah.
Right? And if you watch anything like Star Trek or Dune, there's different galaxies, different folks coming in. Somehow they figured out how to speak a common language, or at least that's how it sounds.
Translation happens.
Right.
Magically, without having to worry about.
Exactly. Yeah. So in the same way, can you have business process execution happen seamlessly?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And without having to worry about, hey, I need to know this. If I don't know this, I won't be able to really do these things.
Right.
And that's what I am seeing as well. And I just wanted to ask you this question is, see, the thing is about the way today's ecosystem is working is everything is controlled by people.
Mm-hmm.
We control the process, we control what technology we bring in or how we use. I mean, when we say control, it's controlled by human in generally, and
sure.
People are controlling it. And then there is a culture that gets built around how you bring that, and then there is a passion around why you need to solve this problem, so everybody brings, and then so now when you bring a transformational change like AI coming in, do you see a friction build up?
Oh, absolutely. Any new technology brings a lot of friction.
Yeah.
My first job was at this CAD software company. I was dealing with folks who didn't want to move from AutoCAD to a 3D design software because they thought they could do designs faster in 2D.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not true.
Yeah, but they have to be proven.
That has to be proven.
Yeah.
So you have to deal with that change management aspect.
Yeah.
It's not that your jobs are going to go away. You need retooling.
Yeah.
You need to up-level your skills. You need to embrace that change.
Yeah.
The same way, machining used to be done by a person. They knew it inside out.
Yeah.
But CNC machines translated that and got rid of it.
Yeah.
Now you have whole cars that could possibly be made by a single robot or a set of robots. That's fantastic. It's taken a while, but that journey happened.
Yeah.
Now no one's going to say, I need human control back in any of this.
Yeah.
Right? Because they've seen that journey through. That's just an example.
Yeah, but I think what really is still important there is, even with all of this industrialization that happened, the RPA, the robotic process automation that happened, level 1, and then we gotten into process optimization and then bringing people to really manage this whole ecosystem. But have we really lost the jobs?
We haven't.
Yeah.
We haven't. And if anything, that net GDP has increased.
Yeah.
And it will continue to increase.
So productivity went up.
Productivity went up.
Yeah.
Now, with AI, I have a lot of talks with my SA boys.
Yeah.
My 16-year-old knew about DeepSeek even before I was.
You figured it out. My son, the same thing. Yeah, we talked about it.
And he gave me feedback saying it handles my slang better than the tools that he's used.
Yeah.
I'm like, why would you use slang on it? Well, try and get homework done.
Yeah.
But that's a fantastic use case
where
he's getting ideas, he's putting his own twist on it, his creativity on top, and then trying to go achieve something.
Yeah.
I remember back in my day, having to go to a library, go figure out stuff.
Open the book, pages, read it, days, weeks, and then time. Yeah, today is just one question you ask and everything comes to you.
So that whole premise of getting knowledge in one spot is fantastic. Now, how do you apply that knowledge? Can you ask it for best practices?
Mm-hmm.
Can it come with recommendations? Can it come with guardrails?
Yeah, safety.
All of that is fantastic.
Yeah.
Right? then you have to think about the privacy lens or the data and how it finds feet and so on, which is where I have to straddle both the IT and the CIO or CISO roles.
Yeah.
But that's, I think, the utopia that we need to be thinking about. When you say 5 or 10 years, I think the speed at which we're seeing innovation, we might be looking at a different paradigm maybe a year or 2 from now.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. My prediction is opening tickets is going to be me dictating and just say, hey, I have this problem. Can you open a ticket and solve it?
Yeah.
And it comes to my view right here, what is important to me. Read a message so that I don't have to check my phone.
Yeah.
Right? And your appointment is here. You need to be there and then telling me where I need to go and turn, which way, which room I don't have to worry about.
And you need to fill these forms.
Yeah.
And standardized forms, you've copied this before, so here you go.
Yeah.
Do you want to review?
Exactly. So, so many times you have to, redo so many things because, it's one thing you've done here, but you have to repeat it here. Anything that you're repeating should automatically be autofilled because you already have that knowledge.
Absolutely.
And then you have. So at some point you'll have your own personal assistant who would know your habits, your travel plans, what you need to do, your calendar, always there to do things that literally every day when you get up until, you finish your work. Then what are we going to do?
There'll always be something for us to go do. Have that next dream of building something above and beyond.
It's fun.
It is.
So the point is that, one way it scares everybody. I mean, the pundits are saying like, where is this going to go and what will happen? Obviously, being the technology leaders, we have to control that in the enterprise. But the society-wise, outside what's happening with consumers and others, in general, like there are 2 parts, right? There's an enterprise AI and there is a public AI. Right. And then so public AI is, a government issue and it's somebody that they're trying to basically control the information, how it is and protecting the rights of the consumers and all that stuff. But then the enterprise AI is protecting your employees,
Absolutely.
your organizational entities, content and then all of that stuff. And so there's a different responsibility for you falling in. Plus also the products that you're building then confines to the regulations of what it is that you can and cannot do. So security becoming like a most pivotal component and trust. It has become more like a risk management as opposed to, security anymore, right? So one thing that I was, as you were talking about the children and then, I wanted to really go back to the nostalgic way of thinking this, right? When we grew up, getting to a computer is going to be as big as this house, this room. Punch cards and how labs and other things then became a desktop with the CRT monitors like this long and and your keyboard and all of that stuff, and you can't do anything unless you're in the office. Then we went from there to powerful laptops and then gaming to smallest device that is now almost like everything. Everything is coming to you. Like literally, without the phone today, I don't think anybody is even functional.
Absolutely.
Right? So eventually, I see AI becoming the same way. It's invisible, but it is there.
Absolutely.
Right? So I think to me, in the enterprise, the services, the experience of end user for IT and as a CIO, I think we need to make it so seamless, so easy for the employee to get what they're looking for. Then they don't have to wait. They don't have to feel like they're like being held up for something. And that's where the productivity boost comes in. The experience becomes much more interesting and then also embracing for them. And then the most important thing is that challenge of bringing all of that seamlessly to those employees in this chaotic thing that we already talked about is what I believe for the next 5 years we're all going to be challenged with figuring things out.
Definitely.
What do you think?
It's also maybe we need a different approach for what has worked historically, such as centers of excellence.
Yeah.
Well, take what's in the experts' heads, make it part of a tool to then make it repeatable.
Yeah.
Provide tools that provide the help instantly. Simple things such as a ticket. I need access to Adobe. Well, if you need your manager's approval, you send it to your manager. So at one, if they say, where's my status of my ticket, they're not having to go through hoops to go figure out that piece. They get that immediately. Be able to do a nudge to the manager immediately as opposed to having to log into 3 other spots.
Yeah.
Those are the pieces. Again, it goes back to that experience.
Yeah.
How do we get there? I think that's the exciting part.
Yeah.
And once we get there, are we done? You're never done.
No. That's the thing is that the next decade to 2 decades, obviously the quantum is going to change the whole perspective of what we're thinking about AI and AI quantum together. The next 2 decades are going to be so many things changing that it's exciting to just kind of wait and see and how we can participate in that journey to figure out.
Yep.
And be, interesting thing is that being part of the innovative companies like for Uniphore for you and Atomic Work for me, that we're at the cutting edge, leading the whole journey and then providing this experience to our customers. And that's is the most exciting thing. And so what's in store for you for the next? Like, what are you thinking in terms of providing this type of things that you're doing to the industry or to yourself and thought leadership? What do you think?
So for me, I think for myself and thought leadership is to embrace the use cases that are popping up. Leave the old mindset or things that say, hey, this doesn't seem practical. Because in order to embrace something that's new, you have to think in the new way without some boundaries. The boundaries could be access control. Boundaries could be, oh, this seems like application integration, or this seems like RPA. Think beyond that box.
Yeah.
From an execution perspective, we've started that AI journey. We have more to do. Get data on AI. Be able to get the answers that you need for the pertinent questions that you have.
Yeah.
That's something I want to go explore and make happen for my company.
Yeah.
And there's different ways to go skin it. We'll have to go figure it out.
Yeah. This is great. I think, that's a good advice to people also like thinking about doing and then how you're approaching it. And I think everybody is doing similar work in their own means in their organizations. I think the most exciting thing is that AI is here and it's going to be the future, and how we make it seamless so that the people who are going to be really benefiting from it don't care about it.
Right.
It's there, but I don't care. Right. And I think with that, I really appreciate you spending time and going through this conversation with me.
Really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
I really enjoyed it as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pleasure.